Once again, everybody, how are you doing? I am Tom Connors. Welcome to 4K for you on this Wednesday afternoon. How are you doing?
Doing great. Good to be back.
I was say with me is Valiant Renegade. How are you doing?
I good. I'm all good. How are you?
Excellent. Peachy. How you doing, Greg, aka Fanzine?
I am doing very good. Glad to be here as always with you guys and talking the glory that is physical media.
It is glorious. What do you say we find out what's coming on the frontier just as soon as we say hello to the folks? We got Hamdinger, Zontar, let's see here, KHC 2005. Welcome, guys. We got Coffee Lover. We got Donnie Pearson, Duck Nation, 16-bit mascot. Share out the link. Let everybody know we're live. Yekno Mino, I see you here too. Doba Fett, thank you so much for being here. Also, hit that like button. Entertainment Wizard is here as well. Thank you so much. So, yeah, we got a couple of rumors and announcements. What do you say we get to that?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Hello and welcome to your 4K4U news and rumors for the week of June 7th, 2023. In announcements, Ferris Bueller's Day Off will be 8/1/23. That's right, August 1st of 2023. Ferris Bueller will hit 4K in a Steelbook and Standard Edition. Duel will be coming in a Special Edition. Now, this is the UK Zavi version, but I'm assuming over here in the US that Groove will be doing this version, as I had said before, but we will have to wait and see yet. The date on that for the UK is September 18th. Matilda is coming to a 4K Steelbook on the 5th of September from Sony. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will be hitting 4K on the 1st of August from Disney. Speaking of August 1st, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse comes out on 4K. Here's a look at the possible Best Buy Steelbook. Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars will be hitting a Blu-ray 2 CD package from Rhino and Parlophone in the UK on August 11th. Kino Lorber has announced that North Dallas 40 will be coming to 4K Blu-ray sometime later this year. Enter the Dragon will be coming out on the 12th of September. That is the standalone edition, as you see here from Warner Brothers. The Nike Air film, starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, will be hitting Blu-ray on September 12th, 2023 from Universal. Ghoulies is coming to 4K, finally, from MVD on September 12th. That same day you can expect Ghoulies 2 on standard Blu-ray. They were unable to find the sources needed for a 4K release, but they hope to have more on that at a later date. We got a couple of rumors for you. First off, the Monster Squad is coming to 4K, probably through Vestron and Lionsgate. Rosemary's Baby is also rumored for 4K later this year. I'm not surprised. I believe that's already been on 4K on streaming for a while. And The Nightmare Before Christmas is rumored for 4K from Disney in August. That's your news and rumors. See you on the show. All right. Well, that is the news and rumors, guys. Does anything stand out to you, Valiant?
Well, I'm looking forward to Monster Squad. I mean, that one jumped out at me for sure. I'm going to go back through that list, but I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I know that's coming out later this year. I'm kind of interested to see how Ghoulies turns out for sure. That's a good one. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's the one I'd have to say I'm the most excited for. I assume you too, Greg. I got to imagine.
Oh, definitely. Ghoulies 4K, Monster Squad 4K. That's like top 2 for me right there. I'm excited to see because we just got the Umbrellas Ghoulies and I loved that set, and I'm interested to see how this 4K transfer holds up on the first one here.
What I really dig is they're doing this laser disc kind of thing for the
Yes.
floor. That is ingenious. Like, step up from the video thing they were doing with the Blu-ray before. But yeah, sadly, Ghoulies 2 is only going to be a Blu-ray because I guess they couldn't locate the negative to do a 4K transfer.
Yeah.
But this one, it sounds like they were able to, so can't wait to see that. That's a big one. And of course, yeah, the rumor for was actually a fresh rumor today about Monster Squad.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that's got to be also probably a Vestron, I should say, through Lionsgate.
Yeah.
But that one should be fun too. The Lionsgate disc, the Blu-ray wasn't too bad. I cannot recommend the olive one, but yeah.
Well, that olive one is good, just pure garbage. But yeah, like you mentioned earlier, I do like how the MVD is calling their 4Ks the laser series because it's like 4K essentially is like the laser disc of physical media because we with the VHS, the Blu-rays kind of become like the VHS. Well, maybe more so the DVD, but that's how they do with the MVD. And then now the 4K is very much like a laser disc, so that's pretty cool.
Indeed, yeah, and of course Ferris Bueller being one that we've been hearing about for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still not clear on what's happening with Duel, but
it keeps never like a official US thing lately.
Well, I think Groove is supposed to be doing it. And that's what I initially had heard. And then they dropped this today and it says limited to 3,000 worldwide, but you can't order it from the US. It won't let you through Zabi. So I don't even know why they say worldwide on it, which is dumb.
Yeah.
But I would assume that Groove is just going to get their version of it, which is going to be the same thing probably.
I agree. And that's something also I'm looking forward to as well because I like the movie Duel. It's a good Steven Spielberg first outing for TV like that. It was really good.
For those who don't know, Groove is Universal's direct store. So they recently did the exclusive 8 Mile Steelbook 4K. They've got Battlestar Galactica. It's coming out everywhere, but they got an exclusive Steelbook, I believe. And I think they'll end up doing the same thing here with this. I mean, maybe the version they get won't have all the goodies with it. That'll probably be the Zabi exclusive part. But I have a feeling that Groove will get the dual Steelbook, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would say you're probably right on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, the other... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's something about previous releases. I should have probably waited to bring it up, but I did hear that People Under the Stairs and Brotherhood of the Wolf, the 4K from Scream Factories, are region locked to the US.
Interesting. I have them.
Yes. I just saw that today.
But I don't have a region-free 4K player, so I couldn't test it if I wanted to.
Apparently, according to Diabolic DVD, they tweeted it out that somehow something happened, and they're region locked to the U.S. only, and they don't look like they'll probably be getting replacement discs for anybody else.
No, it might be a license deal too.
Could be.
I was waiting for them to start getting a little bit more hostile with that.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Hembry wants your link to your Outdoor Channel VR. I'm sure we can handle that.
Yeah, it's hang on a second. Do I have a chat window open right now? I do not. But it's really simple. It's just youtube.com/Valiant or at Valiant Renegade Outdoors.
Hunting, fishing, and hanging outside. Anything we can do, come on, take a ride. You'll find everything but a bunch of horse here on Valiant Renegade Outdoors. Yeah.
That's so funny. All right, I'm
classic already.
I just had to go grab the link. I'm gonna slap it in the chat here. Give me one.
See, that bought you 30 seconds to go get the link. I could tweak it if you want a legit version.
Actually, it could be funny.
The nonsense.
I actually just, if you're a channel member of Valiant Renegade, you just got a funny little clip the other day. I think yesterday or day before yesterday that I dropped. Actually, let me see if I have it here. I tell you what, since probably most of my members have already seen it by now, and since you brought it up, let me see if I can find it real fast here. Yes. Okay, hang on a second. It's only like 1 minute long. Y'all will like this. Hang on a second. Share video
Should
file.
have saved the song for now.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, Pinochet's Helicopter Tours, how you doing, buddy? Says, not that Tom doesn't have enough to do,
visitor
but I propose...
on the boat today.
How did that happen?
We'll get this in a
You
second.
guys know RJ, Renegade Jr. So since we try to obscure names here, today, this is...
Sparkle bitch, that's what you call me.
What? I love the
can't
look
put
on
that on
Dad's
YouTube.
face. I can't put that on YouTube.
No, this is stupid. That's it. Her code name is Stupid.
Thank you.
So when we say, oh, Stupid's on the boat today, Stupid. Where to, Stupid? See, she knows now.
Oh, that looks fun.
Yeah.
Go back to Sparkle, bitch.
There is a story behind it.
I can imagine. What'd she say? Sorry.
I'm really
Straight A honor roll. Zero common sense. Very true.
I have a little common sense.
Little. A very little.
All right, that's it. Yeah, so that was the quick story behind that is that so when we kind of go up to the farm, we got walkie-talkies up there because it's huge property. And so my friend would always start giving code names and all this kind of stuff, like Spread Eagle and Montezuma's Revenge and all this. So we had to come up with one for her. And she has a friend on the dance team whose nickname used to be when she was much younger, Sparkles. And she would always joke that, my kid would always joke, yeah, I know, I'm kind of a bitch, ha 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 ha, teenager attitude. So she became Sparkle Bitch. So that's kind of how that's kind of a code name over the radios.
A much better version of that story is like, what do you want your code name to be? Sparkles. What? It's Sparkles, bitch. All right, Sparkle, bitch. Jesus.
You see, I wish that had actually happened that way, but now I'm going to steal it and just lie.
That's the better version. I rewrite those all the time. Trust me, it works. Pinochet's, thank you again for this $5 super chat. It says, not that Tom doesn't have enough to do. I know I do. I propose a new project for Tom. Oh, no. Now what? Lord, that's all we need. The Connors Index. Tom ranks physical media and catalogs woke versus pre-woke changes. Oh, my gosh. It's interesting you bring that up, though, because that is our next topic, actually.
Yes, sir.
Because we have another one that Disney is destroying. They
did. This is what y'all were talking about with French Connection?
Yes, we'll get, as we know already, they went after, Splash previously.
I forgot about that. They covered her butt.
Yeah, and they've done other things in the past too, for that matter. And now French Connection is
a lot of money to show that butt.
Yeah,
she did. And the scene in question isn't even that big of a deal, if you ask me. In fact, I showed it yesterday on the channel and didn't even get in trouble for it. I'm not going to do it again because it's a bit more of a family-friendly-ish show. But basically, the shortest version I can tell you is the movie starts off with Popeye Doyle, played by Gene Hackman, and his partner Cloudy, played by Roy Scheider, and they're busting a drug dealer who happens to be black. And this drug dealer pulls a knife and cuts Roy Scheider's character, Cloudy. And when they get back to the police station afterwards, they're talking, and Hackman comes up to him and he says, you dumb Italian slur. You should never trust a N-word. And Roy Scheider goes, it could have been a white guy too, He's like, exactly, don't trust anybody. And they cut that whole exchange out.
Mhm.
The streaming version that's on Criterion, Vudu, Amazon, so far reports have come in, and even in versions that have been seen in theatrical releases, like when they go see it in revival in theaters.
Yep.
This scene is also, and it's a very jarring jump cut too, from what I've been told. I'm sure I could recreate it if I had
It's
to.
been
But
so long since I've watched that movie. And I
this
was
is a classic.
I know. I
Yeah.
was saying it's been so long since I've watched it that
Popeye's here.
I wouldn't. I might probably. I mean, I forgot about that.
Get your
But
feet in Poughkeepsie.
now I want to get a version that's not screwed up.
Well, that's it might be a little difficult at the moment because
Yes, as soon as this
yes.
word got around, because this one has been out of print technically for a while, unlike Revenge of the Nerds, which is another one, kids, I should tell you, get your hands on because it's not available in streaming in any way, shape, or form.
Wait, no. It showed up on Hulu.
Finally?
Like I when I searched it the other night, like last night, I was like, I want to watch this. I didn't want to get the disc out. I said, let me see if they ever changed it.
Really?
It showed up on freaking Hulu.
I know HBO still had it for a little while, but that was when just before they had a license for it.
Pretty sure it was Hulu. Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise you couldn't buy it on Vudu, you couldn't buy it on Amazon.
You can't buy it. It's just like if you have, like, I have the $7.
Yeah, it's still
Hulu
popping
thing.
up here and there on streaming services in that sense, but yeah, already unavailable on Amazon, and I can't imagine what the prices are. It's going for.
I have a Blu-ray copy. That's it. You know.
And this is the last release of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is something that does worry me because now we know Disney owns the French Connection, and if Disney decides to put out a new Blu-ray or 4K, will it be the edited version? Because they are not above putting out the edited version like they did. Like I brought up Toy Story 2 with the Barbie doll casting couch joke, which has been removed from the film, and all new Blu-rays and 4Ks have that deleted. So.
Yeah, I have the older Blu-ray, so I think I'm good on that because I have the 3D versions.
Yeah.
So and those movies will never be in true 4K anyway. So
yeah, no, never. But that's what
I tested one the other day because I got Bugs Life because I got it dirt cheap on a Steelbook. The Blu-ray and 4K are almost. You can't even really tell.
Yeah, they're just up conversions, not much of it as well.
They look almost exactly the same. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is like especially with companies like Disney, once they censor it, they will just release the censored version on physical media from then on out. So that's why it pays to actually have the original copy, at least just in case.
Well, to this day yet, William Friedkin hasn't spoken on it, and Robert has tagged him. I've tagged him. He's an active member on Twitter once in a while. He's not even for his age. I mean, he's a sharp dude. I got to imagine once he hears this, he's going to be pissed.
Oh, yeah. The fact that Criterion has never said anything as well.
Yeah, they don't even have the rights to it outside of streaming, because that's where I was confused. I mean, I guess I knew they had a streaming channel, but I'm like, you mean they show more things on there than just the things that they have the rights to, like on DVD and Blu-ray? Because I didn't know they had the rights to this, because they don't, last I knew, unless they're the ones who are going to be doing a 4K that comes out. Because that's the other thing I was going to get to is Friedkin has pretty much done most of his movies in 4K at this point. There's only a couple left. And French Connection and Exorcist are two of the biggest ones, and Exorcist is coming this year. Right. So, you know, you would think the French Connection would have gotten a Blu-ray by now, or a 4K Blu-ray by now, but it hasn't. And you'd think it'd be in line sooner or later, but now I'm worried because Fox being owned by Disney, like you just said, what the fuck? Are they even going to allow it to be released? Because, I mean, we could get in the semantics of why you shouldn't do it for all day long. And Paul Chatto was right this morning when he said, you know, we can't be getting lost in the weeds here when the whole point is just fucking stop. And the reason they're doing this isn't to really, you know, stop anybody from being hurt or anything like that. It's just, you know, their constant need to change things and mess with things and keep themselves employed at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. And it's a sad, slippery slope as far as I'm concerned, because it is worrisome. And like you said, Disney's not above this. Like they're still legitimately using, speaking like you brought up, the mermaid movie. I can't, it just slipped my name. The name of it slipped my face. But anyways, Adventures in Babysitting. The on their stream on Disney, it's still the edited version where they cut out her saying you don't fuck with the babysitter. It doesn't say that. They're still using the edited version of that on their all streaming services for them. So
that is dumb.
Yeah.
You know, I have that on Blu-ray. I should check. Do you have the Blu-ray?
I wish you would check that out because I was going to buy
I'll
the
do
Blu-ray.
that. I gotta remember how far into the movie that is. It's been like 30 years since I've seen that movie, but I mean,
I know. I've been wanting to watch it again because it's been a very long time for me, and I have the DVD. And I heard somebody say that the Blu-ray was the edited version, and I was thinking, no, that can't be.
If it is, I'm gonna be
I was like, that can't be true. So, because I was going to buy the Blu-ray because I've been wanting to watch it, and if you haven't, you need to check that out.
No shit, because I do. Well, of course, you know, we already know they won't allow Song of the South out there, but that's okay. I got a 35 millimeter scan, and somebody was even nice enough to send me a Blu-ray print of it to where I got it on Blu-ray.
Me too. Me too.
Awesome. And the other one would be, you know, Splash, which you talked about earlier, which has not been ever released in the US on Blu-ray, but has been released overseas on Blu-ray. So I do have somewhere on my hard drive somewhere a copy of the unedited, unaltered version in HD, at least. So yeah, at this point, you gotta, I mean, what more can we say? We're not even saying this just because we have anything, you know, any skin in this game. Like, physical media, kids, there's a reason for it.
Can't change it once it's done.
Nope.
Yeah. It's sometimes you just have to let the artist's vision come through, period, no matter what. Whether it offends your sensitive sensibilities or not, it's what the artist intended. It's a different time, whatever. Quit messing with shit. Plain and simple.
Yeah, and this is another thing that bothers me, especially when it comes to Criterion, right? Like, their whole goal, their whole label is about preservation. And I think that goes a little bit. Now, again, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that Disney is the one that gave them this print. Okay, especially with some really bad jump cut like this. But yeah.
I mean, you never know. They could have just like said, "Oh, Disney was like, oh, here you can stream this," and so they streamed it thinking it's the cut, you know. That they
it's just whatever they get. It was kind of reminds me of the Back to the Future thing.
Yeah.
Which that was, and again, depending on if you believe them or not, Universal claimed that on accident they gave them some edited version. It's like, well, then why is only that bit cut out and nothing else?
Yeah.
Like, we all of a sudden have woke cuts. Is that what's next, kids? Is we're gonna have cut for sensitivity?
I believe that's where it's my
pretty much.
Yeah.
Not only is this film now altered from its original version and edited for television, it's also edited for sensitivity.
That's just it's a slippery slope. That's what I say.
Well, it's worse because I got a little bit of pushback because people are like, well, no, labels are fine, when they were going to be like, you know, this film reflects things that are out of date, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, that's not so fine. And I'm not saying either one of you or anybody in this audience, but there was other people I'd talked to at the time kind of pushed back on it. And they're like, no, I'll accept that. At least that means they're not going to edit it. I said, now? That doesn't mean they're not going to edit it later, or once they put the label on something, that's just the next step to making it bad, right? Or say, there you go, it has a label, it's bad. Now that thing is bad, we need to get rid of it. And if you don't get rid of it, then you're bad, making you a criminal of some type. And next thing you know, if you have a copy of Song of the South, it's now considered contraband. And you guys think that might be far-fetched, but it wasn't. But, you know, just under 100 years ago that we were facing the same kind of things from a certain group of German persuasion, let's say.
It reminds me of that, and I mean, there's stories that have been told over and over again with that example, like V for Vendetta, for example. Hello, there's a reason they keep telling these stories and the dangers of what can come from this. Say those who forget the lessons of their past are doomed to repeat them. So.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, this is another one, Tim, where I'm curious how long. That's the thing that scares me about Disney owning Fox now, is what they're going to allow out and what they're not going to allow out. We've already heard people bitch about how close to the chest or close to the vest, however you say that saying, they've held Rocky Horror Picture Show. They've let it out in certain instances, but that's not what I'm worried about them altering. I'm just worried about them allowing it to be out in the public. Because, you know, it's
considering Disney's, you know, motions these days. And
that one I'm not so worried about.
I'm surprised they're not putting it out. Hell, I'm surprised we don't have a 4K fully remastered release of Aliens this month. because of Vasquez. So I
Oh
don't,
yeah.
I don't, why celebrate Pride, right? We had Vasquez and
Well,
aliens.
that we know we can blame James Cameron for.
I know I'm being a little facetious, but
I know you are.
yeah.
But no, like this is the thing: is when are they going to decide? Well, this is too problematic. This is too problematic. That's too problematic. Then you can't say they won't do it because they've already done it with Song of the South.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
I mean, I know for a while there was a controversy about what's the name of that movie, Birth of a Nation or whatever. That was another one for a while that had some controversy.
Is that what the Matthew McConaughey movie?
No. This is an old ass movie that was actually like made way back when, and it has some propaganda bullshit in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was like being kept on. But it's like no, let it be seen. Let them see.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what I thought. It's like early 1900s, I think it was made. So like, yeah.
It's also like the movie with Reefer Madness. That was kind of shelved for a while too. So it's crazy. It's crazy to think that these companies have this power to do this.
D.W. Griffith, yeah, that's who made it. But yeah, like there's a lot of stuff out there that's like, why are you arbitrating what we should or shouldn't see? It is not up to you. It's up to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're losing our freedom. I mean, freedom used to be a big part of what home video was all about. Because that was the first time we could watch something in our home without any persecution whatsoever from anybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's porn, whether it's an R-rated film, or whether it's a fucking Disney movie.
Exactly. I mean, it's just like I talk a lot about on my channel, the video store revolution. That's what it was all about. Because like with the mom and pops and how Blockbuster essentially put out the mom and pop stores because the mom and pops carried so many of these like R-rated cult grindhouse films that people could now watch in their living room. And it's like keeps going in a roundabout way, and they just don't understand.
Well, if you're sundown, there's a rumor that Lethal Weapon is coming soon, so I wouldn't say never.
Mm-hmm.
At least Warner Brothers so far hasn't been doing this. Warner has a whole nother bevy of problems that I'm just starting to scratch the surface of. In fact, this whole French Connection thing sent me and Andre down another rabbit hole, and we've discovered how bad Warner Home Media is at their preservation side of things. The archive is great. But we're going to talk about that tonight because I got a movie that's not that old, only 5 years old, from a 4K master that looks horrendous. And Warner Brothers is at the heart of this and is signed off on by the director. So I don't know. We're going to talk about that, but I'm not going to say what movie it is because I actually haven't watched any new 4K movies. I did pick up, I got stupid and didn't get the Steelbook for Mario Brothers pre-ordered from Best Buy. So I got stuck with the standard edition. Because, of course, my Walmart didn't have their special edition. That's what I was hoping for. And that sold out online, too. So I don't know if you guys got anything. I didn't even get a chance to watch it. I also picked up Renfield as far as new movies. But that, of course, was Blu-ray only. But I don't know if you guys had watched anything this week you wanted to bring up quick. Or
I did watch, like I said, I watched some DVDs. Speaking of which, this kind of surprised me as well, too, because I watched Captain Ron. And it's only available on DVD, and that's a family movie by Touchstone, which I believe
is that one that they haven't even done for the Disney Movie Club yet?
I don't think so. And it's Disney
I can't believe they
that.
haven't done that or What About Bob yet. Yeah,
but I was watching it, and I haven't seen it in a long time. But I can see how Disney probably wouldn't, because this is a family movie. It's PG-13, but it's like played up as a family movie. Though the mom shows her boobs. It shows her boobs when they're in the shower. Her and Martin Short, they're in the shower together. It shows her boobs. The young boy drinks beer and plays strip poker with a hooker. And then, of course, you got Kurt Russell walking around in a banana hammock showing off his goods almost the whole movie. So, and plus, they go to Cuba and fight radicals and all these guerrillas. So I was thinking this might be a movie that Disney might want to silence as well. So it was kind of weird, how that all came about. But it's a fun movie. It doesn't
even look like it has a foreign Blu-ray at all.
Yeah, it has no Blu-ray whatsoever. I was checking into that.
I mean, it is on Amazon and Vudu, so it might be at least in HD and streaming. But yeah, it's an HD on streaming at least.
So at least it can be streamed for those who want to see it. So
yeah, I wonder what about Bob too, if that's available. It is. It's actually cheap right now in HD. It's only $4.99.
Wow.
Why
It's
is it
good
whenever
movie.
I'm on a show with you, it costs me money? Right?
Because that's how I do.
Because I gotta buy this. Because I have not seen
Yeah.
What About Bob in like 12,000 years. And for $5 for HD on Voodoo, sure. We'll see how bad they edited this one.
Yeah.
I'm sailing. What about you, Valiant? Anything you've watched this week that is worth talking about?
Well, I don't know if last week that I had already watched Cliffhanger.
You brought it up, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I brought it up. I had just gotten it, but I don't think I'd watched it in time for the show. It looks amazing. It looks really. I mean, they couldn't. There is no possible way they could have done a better job with that remastering and transfer. And I didn't look before we started the show today. I was like, I'm curious. Let me see. Oh, Blu-ray finally did a review on it. And they apparently agreed with my assessment. And they gave it a 5 out of 5 on both audio and video. I mean, it really is. It is great. I really hadn't watched that movie. The last copy of that film that I owned was on Laserdisc. And that was always a great demo disc that we had for, doing home theater sales and stuff like that. But I was blown away by how good that transfer was. They really didn't put any kind of nasty DNR, any DNR in it. They let the film grain speak for itself. The colors were fantastic. The remastering of the audio was fantastic. The special effects, in terms of, the sound effects, everything was really, really tack sharp on a good system. I was just really, really happy with that. I hadn't watched that movie in a while, and I kind of fell in love with it all over again.
Nice. It is a good movie. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Lithgow's performance in that was just insane.
Oh, man.
You want my money?
Yeah.
He's at the top of his game in that movie. Big time.
That was, he should have played a lot more villains. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. He did his fair share, though.
Oh, that movie Raising Cain with him. That's a pretty good one. I haven't seen it in a long time. That was
another great one.
Yeah. I haven't seen that in a long time. I just thought of that.
Yeah, he's done a fair share of villains.
Yeah.
But yeah, I picked up the Steelbook, but I haven't opened it yet because I had the older release of it, and I remember it looking pretty good. Yeah, I wish Warner Brothers would get Demolition Man out there, but
that would be
going
awesome.
through a lot more of their stuff recently. I've been just so disappointed by Warner Brothers, and considering how good they used to be. There's a lot of issues that we didn't really talk about with the Superman box set. There was the Rocky box set. We recently had, the Superman Fleischer thing, which I'm hearing something about. I'll talk about that at a later date. Anything they put out under their main label it's a crapshoot as far as what kind of DNR and how much is going to be applied. And every single one of the movies that seems to have come through them in the last 5-10 years has a massive color timing problem that we're starting to learn about, or people are noticing.
Yeah.
This is not a movie I'm talking about tonight, so I'll just bring it up here. Like, here's a great example of just the differences in color timing between the various releases of The Exorcist, and we haven't even got to the 4K.
Oh, man.
That's just the variant. And look at this newest one. That's a way different scenario than what we've looked at before with the version you've never seen in the original DVD release and the color timing.
What? Good Lord.
Massive difference.
This
is happening a lot. Look at how natural the skin looks there compared to there.
Well, they amped. Look at the center image where she's she's on the bed. The green tint that was pumped, that was amped into that. That's almost like the Matrix right there.
Andre and I have been trying to figure this out, and here's what we've learned. Of course, the biggest problem with movies from this era is that they start to lose their color, and they usually turn a yellow or a magenta.
Yep, magenta more often than anything because of the film stock, the way the chemicals break down.
Okay, so like if a movie were to go yellow or magenta, then they'd have to try and compensate with something else, and this is where we get to this wackiness.
Yeah.
Because the middle picture is the one that kind of throws me off too, because The skin tone seems to be a bit more accurate there than in the other two, but it's so wildly different from the one in the middle compared to the top one. But then the other ones don't match, right? Like, cause look at the one on the end where the bed, you've got orangish, brownish color.
Oh yeah,
Sheets and pillows, orangish, brownish color
neon
sheets.
green.
All of a sudden, fucking neon green.
Yeah, that is just whoever the colorist was on that one just did a freaking piss poor job. I don't know how else to say it. They did not have neon green like that. I mean, it was always.
And here's the thing, I think you're right, because maybe like if you look at her nightgown here, it goes from like a more silvery color here to a more magenta color.
Yep.
And then here they're trying to compensate for that, and it's more of a white color here.
Yeah. It almost looks like to me that they did. That's going to be a little deep in the weeds. It kind of looks like they did an automatic white balance, and they grabbed white from one scene, like the scene where she's on the bed in the second image from the left at the bottom. Like they use the little eyedropper tool in Photoshop or in Premiere Pro for Adobe or something, and said, "Oh, set this as automatic white balance," and then applied it to the whole film. That's what you get when you do that, and you get all this wacky stuff. Because back then, it's not like today where everything's on the same camera, a digital camera, and you're just changing sensitivity maybe from one scene to the next depending on the lighting. Right. Back then, you had to actually flip and use different film stocks. So it's a very different process. You know, it's like, oh, we're going to shoot in broad daylight. We're going to use this 160 Kodak Portra. Oh, we're going to shoot inside of a house. Now we need to use, 800 or 1600 Fuji or something. I mean, you can't just apply it across the board with those kind of things. But that is a wild difference.
Well, what's odd is that it's not closer to the version you've never seen, which is a little bit closer to the original color timing, at least through most of these, except for these 3 shots here, which are worse. These 2 shots look more close and similar. Yeah. These 3 here are way vastly different. Because here's the thing, and what I'm getting at is this version here, the 97 disc, I'm sure comes from an interpositive probably. I doubt they went back to the negative at that point. They may have, but I doubt it. This one, though, I know they went back to the negative for the version you've never seen. And I'm pretty sure that this 2010 scan was also from the negative. And we also know that the new 4K scan will be a new scan of the negative.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hopes are that they get it closer to this original color timing, because otherwise it's way off. And that's where another thing I'm afraid of is whether or not Friedkin's signing off on this DNR shit, or if it's the studio applying it after the fact. Because one of the movies I'm going to talk about tonight on Greg's channel it's an Arrow disc, but it's a Warner Brothers movie, and it was overseen by Friedkin supposedly. But when Warner Brothers does a release through these guys, they handle the remastering.
Yeah.
And it carries over a lot of the problems. Now, at least it doesn't have the color timing issues like this does. There's a couple scenes that dive deep into the blue, but that movie that I'm going to be talking about always has had some blue scenes, so you'll know what I'm talking about when we get there. But what it does have that is driving me nuts, and I'm fucking scared when we get a 4K version of that and The Exorcist, is there is dot crawl like a motherfucker on there. And you know what that means? It means it has been washed to shit. There is no grain whatsoever.
Oh.
And it looks like they smudged out so much of the detail. This is a 4K master downgraded to Blu-ray 5 years ago. It should look pristine.
Yeah. That's just ridiculous, man. That's crazy.
And okay, just so I'll just say it. The movie is Cruising, and it's from 1980. So that's 2 things right there. It shouldn't even look that. There should no reason that film should not deteriorate at all. By that point, they had figured the shit out. The color shouldn't be a problem. And there was some grainy film in that era, but it's like they were so afraid of the grain that it makes everything look. It's not the waxy look, but it looks like it's a heavy, sharp image. Mm. Like they added a lot of edge enhancement to it or something. And you know what happens when you do what happened with dot crawl, what happened for those who maybe wonder what I'm talking about. But that is when it looks like you literally got a bunch of dots crawling like a worm across the image.
Yeah.
What that is the DNR trying to compensate a very grainy image, or a section of the image that is very grainy.
Usually when they combine it with over sharpening. And that's what a lot of those guys do.
Which is
that
exactly
they-
what it sounds like I just said. Exactly, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, what happens is for the people watching is like they try to apply. All right, we need to smooth this out because there's so much trash and grain, and we don't like that, so we want to get rid of it. Oh, but we smashed out all the detail. So then they raise the sharpness
Yep.
artificially to try to compensate for it, and then the effect that Tom is talking about is the result of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they ruined what should be a very good looking Blu-ray. Like a very good looking Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's not that old of a movie. It was shot very well. It's not like it was a down and dirty indie film. I mean, this was Friedkin when he was at his prime with Al Pacino, a Warner Brothers picture. You know, you can tell it was shot very well, but they've ruined the resolution and the clarity of the picture with this DNR smudging.
They're always in a rush to make it look
Yeah.
modern or something. It's starting
That's
to get a
kinda
little
what it
ridiculous. Yeah.
And this isn't even that old, and that's what bothers me, because it's from 2019, so it's not back when they were first doing this shit. It's like, okay, they were still trying to understand and compensate for different things. At this point, they've gotten smart enough to where you don't have to do a bunch of it, just enough to balance it out, and it will make a world of difference. And this is why I say the go-tos are, just last week I said Turbine and Arrow themselves did a beautiful fucking job with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Probably one of the best looking discs of the year so far. You want to know why? Because they didn't do shit to the picture. You
Yeah.
can tell. Like, they didn't really do anything. There's still even some of the nicks and scrapes here and there from the original negative, where normally they could have cleaned it up. They could have fixed it, but they didn't. And what that shows me and tells me is that they didn't apply much of anything to this picture. The grain is balanced really fucking nicely. You can see it in everything where it's supposed to be. The clarity is there. The colors pop. Like I said, the only time it kind of looks a little dingy is in the CGI bits, but that doesn't even look that bad because Turbine has figured out a way to do the CGI stuff to where it looks really good, because they managed to do that with the Frighteners this last year. So if you do it right, you know, Vinegar Syndrome, they've done them right.
Yeah.
What is it that these companies are doing that these guys aren't? Okay, so in our discussions, and I've talked to some people, and this is the best that we can come up with. I wish Robert was here today. He wasn't able to make it, but he would probably tell you that there's something at the core that's a problem. First of all, the people that run the normal home media side at Warner Brothers and some of these other places have no fucking clue what they're doing. That's first and foremost. Secondly, they probably, and then you brought this up before, Valiant, and Andre came to the same conclusion about these movies that we were talking about recently, and that is somebody's got a calibration issue in their fucking monitor.
No, that too.
Yeah.
Because everything's leaning too heavy into certain colors, and it's like, there's no excuse for that. How did you miss that?
I just recalibrated one the other night because I kept getting annoyed by the fact that when I would slide a window from monitor 1 to monitor 2, there's too much of a variance. And granted, I realize there's a difference in brightness, max brightness level capacity, color depth, and all that. But I'm like, this is too far off. I should not have. And I just realized, okay, I got to put the eye profiler on there and just run the test, recalibrate it, and it fixed. I mean, it didn't make it 100% perfect, but it fixed a lot of the problems. I saw what was going on, and now I have to still redo the other two. You're talking about monitors that these guys do these things on that cost $10,000. So, I mean, they should be absolutely perfectly calibrated, the best of the best all time, right? And if they're not doing regular calibrations on it, like maybe once a month, every 3 months or something, where they're not constantly monitoring this is what you wind up getting. And it just, I don't know how else to explain some of these wacky color grading issues that we've seen. It's one thing to say they made an artistic choice and they wanted to do this and that, fine. But it's another thing when it just looks wrong, like really, really bad wrong. That's a whole different animal.
Right.
And I've talked about this with people where they're like, well, how do you know what it's supposed to look like? Or how does this going to show anything? Or like, because I was arguing with some folks, in fact, recently about the Batman animated series and the problems that ran into compared to the Mask of the Phantasm, which, surprise, surprise, Mask of the Phantasm was oversaw by Archive, but the show, after they realized, oh, this is popular, the show is overseen by the home media department, and it has all kinds of issues. It has DNR scrubbing. It has color timing issues out the ass. Like, we're talking where stuff should be maroon or dark, in dark, it's bright red, and you can see the things you're not really supposed to see all that much, I don't think. Like, there's a lot more to it than just, sometimes it's seeing too much, these things are done in a way, and you have reference material, because they're like, oh, I'm like, well, go back to the original DVDs or Laserdiscs or the original broadcast masters. Well, those are different. They were color timed and everything it's like, it doesn't fucking matter, right? You can still look at it as a reference and go, okay, you can kind of match it up as best you can, that sooner or later you start dialing in to where, okay, you got the reds the way it's supposed to look. I got the darks the way it's supposed to look. You can see that much, but you don't see too much there. It's not that hard to use it as kind of a guide. Sure, it's not an end-all be-all, but that's one of the oldest mastered versions. Why can't you grab a Laserdisc and just use that to color time by? How hard is that? Because I know and I understand you can't scan an old, because in an ideal world, what you'd like to do is scan an old print along with the negative and then try to color time that negative as close to the print as you can. But the problem is, film, the colors fade over time on most types of film. So you're running into that issue. So that's why I say use an older form like a Laserdisc where it's not going to deteriorate, but you can at least get a good idea of where this is supposed to be if you can't have the director or the cinematographer come in and sign off on it. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Valiant, but I don't see it being that difficult.
No, it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. And especially when you have something to compare to, right? And that's why, and they didn't do it at the time that they shot it, but that's why photographers use things like color cards, where they can go up, and the first shot in camera that they will make will be a color panel that they put up right next to the subject. They take a shot, a still frame, with them holding that in there right next to the subject's face or whatever they're shooting. And that way
they should be able to match it, right?
Right, exactly. When they're sitting at their desk, they can look right down at the physical color panel that's sitting on their desk and then look at the screen and physically put something side by side and go, oh no, I need to tweak this, tweak that, this isn't right. And of course, that's all provided that their monitor that they're using, their reference monitor, is correctly calibrated. Because obviously if it isn't, the settings that you're dialing in reality are going to be all out of whack. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's laziness. I don't know if it's people that don't know what they're doing, because most of the stuff that we get on 4K physical media looks very good. I mean, there aren't that many discs out there that are completely pooch screwed. There are a few, of course. We've talked about like planes, trains, and automobiles and things like that. That wasn't so much of a color issue as it was just smashing way too much DNR in there.
It did have a different color timing than the older Blu-ray and DVD too, though. That was
it did have a little bit different, but what to me that wasn't what was offensive. What was so
no, that was one of the least of the problems,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. I would much rather be sitting here complaining about how they changed the color grading on the new version versus they completely destroyed the physical film in the transfer with this DNR crap. That to me is a much bigger problem, because hey, the colors aren't quite what I'm used to, but great. You know what? There's an uptick in resolution. It looks better. It sounds better. The depth in the dark areas, especially on a movie like The Exorcist, where just like any horror movie, what do we always talk about? This is where HDR really shines, because you get all those details in the shadow and black levels that aren't crushed out. But when you have something that's so bad that like the color's ridiculous, all of a sudden they're laying down on neon pillows. It's like, what? Dude, that's really distracting.
Or like Cat's Eye was one that was really distracting, because everything that was supposed to be white was all of a sudden this bright neon green, like you were saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if that's just a part of because the film was leaning into the yellow, so they didn't notice, or if somebody had their This is one where I showed that to Robert, and he's like, it looks like somebody had their monitor calibrated off.
And that was from
Uh,
Studio Canal, right?
But that's not the only one. Yeah, there's a couple
Yeah.
of movies that I've had that issue with that I've brought up where it's seemingly
I've-
where something is supposed to be white all of a sudden leans into this yellow greenish hue. It's like, what the hell's that all about? But,
I've heard Studio Canal has that problem. A lot of their transfers are have that yellow hue to them. A lot of them. So it's definitely something on that end.
yeah. And again, to me, it's like, it's not rocket science. How can it be that hard to do? Either you go by the notes that you had there, because I understand when you grab the negative, it's not going to have all the post processing that they would normally have. So you're going to have to look at the notes like, okay, even Godfather that some people claim they botched, I'm not so sure. I thought it looks great, but some people feel that it is color timed differently than it initially was. And that's another issue, I think, is it's more so that the digital technology is not the same as how it works with chemical technology to where it was back when they used to do these. Because that's the thing, you'd get varied color times in some of these movies. And for those who don't know, they would actually sit there at the printers where they would do these reels, and they would have them strung out, and they would literally match like reel 2 with another reel 1 that had the same kind of color timing with another one. They weren't always part of the same runs because they would run the reels. They'd run a bunch of reel 1s, then they'd run a bunch of reel 2s, then run a bunch of reel 3s, and a bunch of reel 4s, and variances in the chemicals that they would use and the dyes and stuff that they would use to do the, the actual look of the color timing that they were trying to accomplish. They would have to match them all up. So depending on where, you would see a completely different color timing in a way in one theater than you would to the next. I mean, it would be variant in small ways, but it wouldn't be like to the point where it's jarring. This is jarring. And it's like, why can't you notice this? My prime example besides Cat's Eye is how bad they fucked up Out of Sight. I think Steven Soderbergh directed it. He even signed off, I believe, on the transfer. And I'm like, how did anybody let this slide? Because you stick in the old Blu-ray, which probably comes from an inner positive, and the Miami scenes do have an orangish yellow hue to them, but it's not overpowering. And the Detroit scenes have a blue hue to them, but it's not overpowering. You can still even see like the gray of the buildings, the green in the grass. But on the 4K Blu-ray, the orange is so overpowering in the Miami scenes that everything's orange. And then when you get to the Detroit scenes, everything is so blue, the freaking ground is blue. I'm like, how does this get through? How did they not notice this? How, especially when you got these people signing off on it, like that's supposed to make it okay. And again, Valiant, I know it's a rhetorical question, but you know better than either of us here as far as how that works. It has got to do everything to do with calibration and how they're color timing these scenes. And I just don't think they're paying enough attention to what the original looked like. Or they're going by certain notes, and the digital calibration is not the same as the subtle notes that they used to have to go by in the chemical process, is what I was trying to explain with that whole thing.
You're right. You're right. And yeah, I think, I don't know what goes on in those rooms. I mean, you got one guy sitting at a giant desk. For those of y'all watching that may not know how this works, you got a guy sitting at a desk, and the desk is probably 8 feet wide. And there are massive panels of faders, sliders, roll balls, and all these. It's basically like a big Da Vinci system, is what they call it. Da Vinci Resolve is one of the programs they use. In fact, I would fathom a guess that Da Vinci Resolve is probably by far and away the most widely used software calibration tool for a lot of these remasters, because Da Vinci is one of the 3 big editing softwares out there. You got Da Vinci Resolve, you've got Final Cut Pro from Apple, and of course you've got Adobe Premiere. Da Vinci Resolve is widely regarded as the best tool for colorists out there. Da Vinci Resolve has, their software is the most powerful color grading, color editing tool of the 3. And I would agree with that, having used it a little bit myself. That being said, you have one guy sitting there at all these controls, and unless it's being overseen maybe by the original director or the original colorist and all this kind of stuff, you're going to get a guy sitting back there that may be very capable technically to do this job, but they go in with their own ideas on what it should look like or what they want it to look like, or, they're given carte blanche on, I don't know, I'm speculating. But based on some of the things that we've seen, it's that's the only thing I can come up with to explain why we get the things we get. Sometimes.
Makes sense. It does. And it's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
It is indeed. We got a couple of super chats here, 2 of which are from Pinochet's Helicopter Tours. Thank you so much. It says 1991, the film JFK. Both Ed Asner and Kevin Bacon both use the N-word. Actually, I mean, it's so heavily used in a lot of movies in different ways and contexts. But anyhow, you think Oliver Stone would bend the knee to the woke? Oh, fuck no.
No.
Actors punished for past lines. I don't think the actors will be, but they've already tried to do it with Tarantino, where they're like, remember when Django came out and he was like bombarded by a bunch of fucking excuse my French there. I didn't mean to go too blue there, but you know, we're talking about already the N-word at this point. So what's the difference? You know, the bunch of reporters are trying to hit him with, well, don't you think it's a little out of line for you to be using the N-word so much in one of your movies if you're not black and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, isn't that racist? And da, 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 da. And he's like, I reject your hypothesis. It's like, I'm telling a story. The character is saying it. The character is racist, right? Or that's the way the characters talk. Or the character is black and it's in the vernacular, or, you know, what have you. You know, to me, it's like a handcuffing a creator in a way, right? Mm-hmm. It goes along with what we were saying recently. We've been griping a lot for those who maybe watch the show. Know what we're talking about. For those who may not watch the regular shows, but we do talk about this quite often, is how they just don't even understand villains anymore in movies, and how refreshing it was to see in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, you know, an actual villain.
Right.
You know? He doesn't have any redeeming values. Good.
I was just saying that the other day. It's like, don't they just have a bad guy that's just evil anymore?
Just an evil bad guy.
He's an evil bad guy. Everybody's got to be like, oh, he can be saved. It's like, I just want this motherfucker to be evil. Just be evil.
Right? And if you want to get into the weeds about the whole French Connection thing, I mean, that's where I kind of think Friedkin would come from. He'd be like, what are you doing? That is the character. That is the real person, right? That is the kind of crap they said. This is the kind of person they are. And if you're hiding that, then you're actually doing a disservice to the fact that he does have racist tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of the day. So to me, it's a character development thing. It's who that person is. Why hide it? To hide it is almost like pretending it doesn't exist, which is even worse.
Exactly. Like I mentioned earlier, those who forget the lessons of the past are doomed to repeat them. Scrubbing it from memory and stuff is just makes things worse.
And you're right, Alex Zorba, Blazing Saddles would be completely lost on them. I think so. Yeah. We got Birth of a Nation, who says, Pinochet's Helicopter Tour says, Birth of the Nation was the first film shown in the White House to famous racist and Democrat President Woodrow Wilson, a stain you can never wash out. Yeah, that movie has a lot of shit hanging over it. And I remember for a while, it was like one of those movies where they were debating heavily on if it should even be available. But I think cooler heads kind of prevailed in the end. Michael Beacom, are you still there, Valiant, or did you check out? I know you had to run and do something, but you'd be interested in this one, I was figuring. I think he's still gone. But he says, read John Lithgow, check his film debut as an actor, Obsession, 1975, Brian De Palma. Sorry to spoil, but he is major prick bad guy. Oh, wow. Especially a De Palma film. You can't spoil the ending there now. What's the point? Pilgrim Media says, if their screens are not calibrated, it won't matter. Exactly. That's kind of the whole point. You can do all the best work you can in the end of the day if it doesn't come out. But that's where quality control comes in, and they don't have it. And where I've insisted that a lot of us reviewers and pundits on the matter should unite and say, look, we'll do this shit for you. We're not just wanting a free movie. Shit, send us just the movie. We don't care about the special. We'll help you quality control this shit. And if anybody's going to notice, it's going to be guys like us.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
True
so,
that.
I mean, instead of getting these people who are going to kiss your ass and lie to you about it, have us be the QC. It kills two birds with one stone. We can review it and QC it at the same time. If there's a problem, it can be caught earlier on. Because that's the bigger issue, is it cannot be affordable to have to keep doing these replacements programs.
Yeah. To have to keep doing that over and over. Like, oh, well, we got to replace this now.
To me, I would think it'd be a lot cheaper for them to send out a few hundred or 1,000, QC discs to a bunch of reviewers like us and get notes from us back. And like I said, kill two birds with one stone, then have to print a disc, reprint the disc, send that out to a bunch of people, a lot more people than what would be reviewing the film. If you send out the QCs to guys like us, you know what I mean? It makes complete sense to me. And I brought it up to a few people. Most people agree with it. Some of the deeper industry people are kind of like, well, yeah, you know. Well, it's like, whose job are you fucking saving at this point?
Exactly.
Nobody's. Because they're not doing it.
Yeah. Nobody's. Oh, man.
You missed a lot of that, Valiant, but we're going to head out here. So I want to thank you guys both for being here. I appreciate it. Valiant, you got anything coming up?
Well, the next video I have planned, I'm going to try to get it done tonight. We're going to be talking about the Transformers and where they really make their money. We're going to go kind of do a financial walk down history's lane on that one. And a lot of people look at this and go, well, you know, the Transformers.
Japan is a big place there, and then China.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not talking about box office. I'm talking about how these movies work from a functionality standpoint.
Toys.
They're basically big advertisements for the toys. So
we sell
it's
toys.
a very, very different. It's a very different film franchise than most others out there. It's kind of like the Barbie movie this summer, right? They don't necessarily have to go gangbusters with the Barbie movie. Mattel is seeing what Hasbro has done with the Transformers movies and what it's done for toy sales, and they're like, we'd be crazy not to throw money at this and just make a film because of what it can do for our real lucrative bottom line. So different enterprise from that standpoint. So I'm going to do a retrospective on that for tomorrow, hopefully, if I can get that out in time.
Cool.
Roll out. I'm in theaters right now. Greg of Earth of the Fanzine channel.
Yes.
Tell us what you're doing.
I've just released 2 videos here lately. One on the French Connection censorship thing. Check that out. And one on the documentary of Robert Englund, The Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares. Check those out. I think those are some really great videos I've done. And tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on my channel, Tom and I will be doing the physical media show. We'll be talking more physical media and showing off what we watched this week. So I hope to see you guys there. And that's what I've done.
Yes, indeed. It links to there. And yes, George Feltenstein. I've been trying to remember that name so often. I keep forgetting it. He's the guy who used to be the head of Warner's stuff, and then they shit-canned him, I believe, and then they brought him back into the archive at a much reduced rate. So he's the guy who's overseeing the archive stuff, but the main stuff is being overseen by a bunch of God knows who.
A bunch of Joe Schmoes, nobodies.
That's the thing. Warner Brothers, compared to even other ones, is even more disorganized. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We appreciate it. I will be on Physical Media Program with Greg here in about an hour. So I hope to see you there. Hour, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. See you there, kids. Take care of yourselves and each other.